You seem to still be up there somewhere.
Maybe I am. There are flying saucers.
Supposing they're Martians or something in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Asherz, and this is...
Tobias.
Tobias. I'm not going to ask you about your weekends, because this entire episode is about your weekends.
Oh, yeah.
No. Let's not do that first, huh? Aside from what we're going to talk about today, I don't think either of us really have anything interesting to share about what we've been doing, because I think that stuff like this takes a lot of prep work. Why don't we hop into some news? I got some news.
Sure. Okay. Let's hear your news.
It's weird to do it backwards. I don't know how I feel about this.
Right?
Actually, I only have an update to a previous news story, which you and I, have both talked about before on the show. It's not often we actually get updates about stuff. So
that's true.
Let's get into it. It's actually from a story that I shared last week about the alligator in Beaver Creek, Ohio.
Okay.
So the Ohio DNR, of course, conducted an investigation. They weren't going to initially, but they had multiple people reporting sightings of potentially alligator in a little pond in Beaver Creek. And they went out there and they found no signs of an alligator in that area. I think that he's just really good at hiding.
It's cover up.
That's what I think. Yeah, it's cover up. It was clearly one of the government officials' pets. They had been looking for it low key. Word got out that an alligator was out there and they knew it was there, so they went and got it. You know how rich people like to, dwell in the exotic animals trade, so.
Yeah, the government doesn't want you to know that there are alligators out in that lake, because then if they did, they would be liable for alligator attacks.
Yeah, they're not fans of taking responsibility. That's what I know about the government. So
it's true.
But really, that was all I had. Tobias, how was your weekend?
Oh boy, it was good. Yeah, I don't have any news this week. I've been too busy. Really, like everything I've been up to lately has to do with, or is related to really what we were up to last weekend anyway, which of course was hanging out at the Mothman Festival in
I've
Point
never
Pleasant.
Heard of that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tiny little festival that nobody's ever heard of. There were a couple people there, so it was nice. But because Richard and I, of course, are working on this Mothman book, and we decided that we wanted to get out to Point Pleasant as part of our research for that book, because we want to cover the entirety of the Mothman phenomenon, and so that includes the 1960s sightings, right? And so it would be interesting to go and walk where the investigators of those sightings walked, and where the witnesses had their sightings and all of that stuff. And so that's what we did. And we decided to do it around the Mothman Festival. Now, we got in a couple days early so we could get around and do things without being mobbed by other people. But do it around the festival specifically, so we could absorb some of the culture, because it's an often ignored aspect of these phenomena is the culture that they inspire. And boy, is that on display in Point Pleasant over the festival weekend.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. Well, let's, I don't know how much you want to share, but why don't we back it up a little bit before we get to the actual festival itself?
Sure.
Because you got into town. You actually came in, when was that, Thursday?
Yeah, I got in Thursday evening, probably I think it was about 7:30. I lost an hour going from Central to Eastern. So yeah,
And then,
thanks a lot, Eastern.
Totally Eastern's fault. How dare
Right?
they?
Being an hour ahead. The
awful.
worst.
How was the drive? Anything eventful happen? Did you see anything cool?
No, I wish. On the way there, I tried to save some time, and so instead of going around Chicago, I went through Chicago and like through Indianapolis, and basically just ran the damn gauntlet to get there, and it saved me like 20 minutes. But the years it took off my life and stress were probably not worth it. But otherwise, no, I didn't. Well, I didn't see anything I would characterize as paranormal. I will say this: like once I got into West Virginia, uh, it was interesting because the route my GPS took me on went from like highway to winding, isolated mountain roads
Great.
through haunted little towns, like really, really quickly for some reason. And so that was, I think that was a fairly appropriate introduction to West Virginia for like for me and this trip specifically.
Did it have you go through Ohio to West Virginia?
Yes.
Yeah, well, sorry
Oh
about
yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, I was in 5 states in one day because I went from Wisconsin to Illinois, through Indiana, through Ohio to West Virginia.
Yeah, when we go down to the Lithville UFO Festival, which is a great time in Virginia, me and Anne have dubbed this particular stretch West Virginia because you're basically riding the West Virginia, Kentucky, Virginia border forever, and there's nothing there. It's terrible. And you get no phone service. It's always like, oh yeah, we're gonna break down right here. This is where it
Yeah. Right.
happens. Then we're gonna get attacked by cannibal hillbillies, like in the movies. So
Of course. Well, I showed up to the cabin too, and now the people that I was going to be there with. So I was meeting, Richard, of course, who's my writing partner on this project, and then he had a couple of his friends that he had investigated with before who were going to come along, Mike and Aaron, and they were supposed to get there before me. So I show up to this cabin, like the sun is setting. It's like it's sinking below the horizon as I pull up, like and I go, and they're not there yet. Like I don't see a car.
oh
Like
no.
I've got the code to get into it because it's an Airbnb rental. And so like I go into this cabin and it's fucking empty. And immediately my mind goes into like a horror movie where I'm like, shit, they got here. They're already dead. The killer has hidden the car. I'm next. That's like literally like the first thing that I think of. It turns out their flight was just delayed. But there's nothing like being in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, and showing up and having nobody there when you expected people to already be there.
Did you start drinking immediately or
I I didn't. I did
oh
not. I
no.
didn't have any alcohol on me. So that was an issue. But yeah, no, I literally like I walked around the whole cabin. I'm just like, oh, I guess this is how I die. All right, like I'll try to put up a good fight at least when the mutant cannibals come out to get me. That's probably offensive to people from West Virginia. I'm sorry. I don't think you're all like that. I'm just saying it was the perfect setup to a horror movie.
I think anybody that listens to our show gets it.
Right.
In all fairness. Yeah, so then they come in. I assume you guys just took it easy the first night.
Yeah, I wanted to go out originally, but due to their flight being delayed, it would have meant going out much later than we had anticipated, and then we wanted to get an early start on the next day, and that ended up ultimately being, I think, more fruitful, was being
Yeah.
able to get up early and go and do all the things we wanted to do on Friday instead.
So how did Friday go?
It went really well. We went out to Point Pleasant, of course. We hit up the Mothman Museum. We soaked up some of the local culture. There were some specific things that I think we wanted to see because of their attachment to the narrative that some people have created around this phenomenon, and also like their historical importance or cultural significance. And so we wanted to see the site of the former Silver Bridge, so we went and checked that out. We wanted to go scout the TNT area, and so we did that. And then, of course, we went back at sunset to the TNT area to try to do some investigating. There were some people out there already at that time, but it wasn't crowded. We more or less were left to our own devices the entire time we were out there. Like, you might see people occasionally, but it wasn't like, standing room only, running into people constantly like it was on Saturday.
What'd you think about them igloos down there?
They're gross. I wouldn't want to live in one. So there's something to be said for that. No, they are. Yeah. Okay. So our producer just asked if I drank the water. Well, I'm still alive, so no.
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I did not. No, like they're interesting from an historical standpoint, and sort of their significance to the region and the war effort and the story behind them and why they were built, where they were built, and being camouflaged in this wildlife area so they wouldn't be a target if somebody were able to attack mainland America during World War II. Like, that's all super cool. The graffiti is some of the best graffiti I've ever seen in my life. It really is. Like, just the hilarious shit that people have spray painted on those walls. I love it. I didn't love all of it. Some of it was just offensive, but some of it was just hilarious. And so I took a bunch of pictures. Yeah, I know it's an interesting area. It's isolated. I can see why it became a popular spot for teenagers going all the way back to the 50s and 60s to go and do things that they wanted to do in private and didn't have anywhere else to do them. It very much has that lover's lane quality to it. So that's super interesting. I did collect some dirt. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but I took some as like a keepsake because, well, Adam wanted some. I don't know why.
Like,
but
like, it's not illegal to take dirt.
Good. Because I did. I took a bunch of dirt.
And the police pull up and they're like, "What are you doing? Drop the dirt."
Damn it. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know if it was like frowned on. Like, some people get mad if you take rocks from areas or whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's probably just, it's probably just really gross dirt, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't touch it. I just put it in a bag. But yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, Adam wanted some dirt. I actually had this little gargoyle, like, I don't know what you'd call it. It's not like a flask. It's like a tiny vial, kind of.
Oh.
And so I filled that up with TNT area dirt, and
Nice.
now I have that forever. And if I ever have any occult need for dirt from the TNT area of Point Pleasant, then I've got some at hand. So watch out.
I leave my hair every time I go, and I know that's weird, but I don't know why, but I've been doing it since the first time I've ever been there. I'm just compelled to do it.
Leaving your hair?
Leave my hair at the TNT area. Yep.
Huh.
Every time. The very first time we went out there, I just was like, pulled a strand of hair, left it behind. Just now it's just
now
tradition.
You're completely bald.
I am, yeah. Complete. So if you saw any red hairs out there and in your dirt, they're mine, probably.
Yeah, right. You never know. But yeah, no. I mean, they were interesting. There are a lot of them. we only went so far as I think you're kind of supposed to. I wasn't going to trespass on private property or anything. So we walked all the way to the end of this lane. So like, how you get there,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like a really small parking area that'll fit probably 3 or 4 cars, I would guess. And then there's the like that little low barricade.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side of that begins the lane that you can walk down. And so we walked all the way to the end of that and went into every single igloo on the way, actually. So that was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them at least. And then it ends in this T intersection. And we didn't go anywhere on the T intersection because I was like, well, hell, at this point, we've seen, half a dozen of these igloos. I can't imagine there's anything special about any of them that we haven't seen yet. And certainly not anything special enough to get shot over. So I felt pretty good about it.
If you would have just went one more, Tobias, you would have found the Mothman's home.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, damn it. Right. Skipped the one that was Mothman's, I don't know, love shack or apartment or whatever. So, no, like one of them didn't have a roof, which was interesting. So I forget which one it was, but it's on that lane and there's no roof. It's just completely missing, which was, again, unusual. Like at first we were like, well, what the hell? So we took this tour the next day, and they were talking about how some guy had, oh boy, how did they phrase it? They said it in a really diplomatic way. Like, I don't know. It's just some kind of like illicit materials stored in one of the igloos that exploded. And so I was like, well, so he had a meth lab in one. Is that what you're saying? But they didn't want to say that, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that was the one. That must have been the one that didn't have a roof. I asked the tour guide about it, and he said, "Yeah, no, that's it." And I'm like, the one just down the way here that we were at. And he's like, "Yep." So unless we really got our wires crossed, that was the one. So I got to go into the meth igloo, and that was super fun.
Well, the secret is that they're all the meth igloo.
Yeah, right.
So, let me say, I got something to say about that. So when I first started doing research into this, of course, one of the fascinations you get into is the TNT area. And what I had read is that there were 2 igloos that blew up, 2 of them. One was in, I believe, 2010, and the other one was in 2013. And you guys were saying that you had been down to one that didn't have a roof on it. You were talking about that, and you could just walk up to it. Well, so one of them blew up because there were munitions in them still. Some of them do still have munitions. So when they, whenever the government got rid of that property or wasn't using that property anymore, they actually offered to sell the land back to the respective families who owned it. So most of them now are private property. I think they're all private property, except, for the museum one that they own. But not everybody has like cleaned them out and used them for anything. So some of them, I mean, you can't just clean out munitions. Like
Right.
there's like a whole process to it. But the one that blew up was because of munitions. So later on, I'm trying to like research, and I'm like, I know there were 2 that blew up. So that meth lab one, you can't fucking find anything about it anywhere. Like if you look up, you can find articles about the one that blew up with munitions in it. You can't find the meth lab. And so it's obviously it's cover up.
It clearly is. I don't know which one I was in. Maybe it was a munitions one. I don't know.
I think
didn't
yours
realize
had to have been it couldn't have been, because the munitions one is like all the way on the other side of like the whole property, and you can't get to that one. Like they won't, like it's roped off with like a barricade. Like you can to a certain point, and you could park on private property and then walk up, but nobody's gonna do that in West Virginia.
Oh yeah, we definitely didn't do that. So yeah, I don't know. Must have been a like weird meth lab one.
One of them had a meth lab, and one of them just had leftover munitions. You take your pick.
Right. So
Anyway.
yeah, I don't know. That's interesting though. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, nobody told us not to go into any of these igloos, so
Yeah.
I just assumed it was fine. At least the ones we went into.
I mean, people do. Like, it's, it's not like, I don't know. They don't really, they try to make it clear at the museum, as long as you get to talking to them. But if you don't really get to talking to them, they're just like, oh, yeah, you need directions. There it is. And show you like the picture that's on the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
They might have
Well,
pamphlets now. I don't know.
sure. I just meant like if only one or two of them is owned by the museum, then we went into a bunch of them that were owned by fuck if
Somebody
I
else.
know.
Yeah. Well, don't people go out there, and like the people that own them, they'll hunt on that. It's their property, so they can go out there and hunt on their property. So
Oh,
yeah, so like when you're out there during hunting season, I mean, you hear gunshots all around you.
sure.
It's pretty horrifying. You're like, we shouldn't be here, you guys. We should leave. But that's why we have reflective vests.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
don't go out and do a lot of hiking in areas used for hunting here
Yeah.
during hunting season. Like
Yeah.
it's we just take a few weeks off from investigating places like that usually every
Yeah.
year. Like
Because you
that's what I
just
do.
don't want to be mistaken for an animal. You know.
No, because most hunters are discerning enough and generally competent, but it only takes one idiot to kill you.
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, okay. So we trespassed into a bunch of igloos, I guess, but nobody seemed to mind, and they all had a bunch of graffiti in them. So oh well. But yeah, we
so
didn't
so
see
people
any.
trespass in them.
Yeah, right. Like I was like, well, this must be fine. I don't know. At least we're not fucking spray painting anything. But yeah, well, that was during the day too. So like I said, we wanted to go and kind of scout the area out so we could come back at
Mhm.
night, and we did. And I'll put our videos from that up on the Patreon so people can see them. And we tried to do some sort of consciousness based investigative techniques. Like some of the stuff that you would uh, associate with maybe ghost hunting, but maybe not anymore. And that isn't to say that people don't use these techniques for ghost hunting, but just in the sense that like investigating high strangeness has kind of gone in this direction where it's not unusual for people to like use an Estes method session or something
Sure.
to investigate stuff like this. So we did some things like that, and um, it wasn't terribly fruitful from my perspective. I had some more traditional cryptid sort of hunting stuff with me, so of course I had like my IR body cam, and I had my thermal camera and everything out, and I didn't really catch anything on that. But I just wanted to cover all of our bases. But if anybody's interested in just sort of what went into that investigation, then absolutely I'll put those up. I think it would still be entertaining enough for people to watch, even knowing that Mothman isn't going to be in it.
Oh yeah.
Although that's probably a fair assumption. Like regardless, like okay, Mothman's not going to be in it. Mothman's never going to be in it, right?
He doesn't live there as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I thought that the TNT area, or probably Point Pleasant in general, is the last damn place you're going to see Mothman at this point.
Yeah.
So
I agree. But the TNT area it can be strange. It can be, and um it really just depends on when you go. And we'll kind of talk about that when we talk more about talking to Mark on Saturday.
yeah,
Because he had kind of mentioned that, and I think it'd be interesting for the listeners to kind of hear, I don't know, more about that. Just trying to make this episode as interesting as possible.
not me. I'm going the opposite direction. Grab
Tobias is
your
like,
pillow. Get
I
ready for
saw
a
it.
nap.
I got some dirt. Meh.
Right? Eh, I don't know. Dirt was the coolest part, probably.
How long
People
did you
from
guys
West
stay?
Virginia just hate me.
How long did you stay out there? When you guys went out there?
When we went back at night, I think we
Mhm.
stayed out till probably, it wasn't super late, maybe 10 o'clock.
No, but there's still people out there.
There were a couple.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like there weren't a lot. No, again, nobody interfered with us. Really, like our interactions were sort of limited to seeing somebody's flashlight once or twice. Although I'm not convinced it was a flashlight. Okay, so hear me out.
Okay.
We're walking along that lane there next to all the igloos, right? And we see this light ahead of us, and it kind of like appears and then it'll disappear for a while, and then it comes back, and it's like, it's relatively bright white light, and I've got my thermal cam pointed right at it, and I don't see the heat signature of anybody holding a flashlight or anything. Like there's no human being there, and it's within the camera's range. Like it's got like 1,000-yard range, um and so there's no way they should have been outside of it.
Was it
But
picking up the light?
okay, so it's a thermal camera, right? So
Mhm.
even though it was dark, if I pointed it in their direction, I should have been able to see a human being
A
holding
human.
that flashlight, if it was a flashlight, right?
Mhm.
But I couldn't, which means, well, okay, which is unusual, right? And so, was it a flashlight, or was it a weird anomalous light that people say they see sometimes at the TNT area? I don't know definitively.
Was it coming towards you or?
No, it was station. Okay, it never seemed to get bigger or smaller.
Okay.
It seemed relatively stationary. It would turn on, kind of move around in its area a little bit, and then it would go away, and it would come back a little bit. But it didn't seem to be moving. It never came toward us.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
So yeah, there was like that, and then I mean, there were some people that kind of stumbled into an igloo while we were doing stuff. This was the best. Like we're obviously recording, and these people like come up and they're like, "What y'all doing? You recording?" It's like, God damn it, yes, obviously yes. Um, you know, like seriously.
Did they try to
But
hang
yeah,
out?
no, we didn't hang out. But no, it seemed like the guy seemed nice enough. I don't know. But like, yeah, it was just like, dude, I mean, there are so many other igloos. Like if you own this one and we're not supposed to be in it, like that's cool. Like just tell us to leave. We'll get the fuck out of here. But like otherwise, if it was me, I would have been like, oh, somebody's doing something in there. We should leave them alone. Not like, hey, I'm gonna go make a new friend and
Try
maybe
to
they'll want to investigate this igloo with me. Like that doesn't happen.
try to join your party.
Right. It's just
Like,
like,
you recording? Yeah. Can I watch?
right. Hard no. Yeah, so like that was, again, it was fine. I don't know. That person will probably hear this and hate me. But it's, just come
I
on,
hope that
man.
person listens to the show.
Just be cool. Like you didn't need to see what we were doing. Like, what are you, the igloo police? Again, if you are, I apologize. Thank you for not writing me a ticket. But I don't think that was the case.
He comes in, he's like, I heard you were stealing dirt.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, let's see here. That's going to be $500 for the dirt, another $500 for being in this igloo, and $1,000 for hurting my feelings.
No, I know what you mean. Honestly, I haven't been out to the TNT area during the festival since 2019, and I was kind of telling you earlier, the festival wasn't the way it is now back then.
Right.
So, I mean, there were people out there, but we didn't really. I mean, it was our first time out there. We didn't really pay any mind to them. They didn't pay any mind to us. But yeah, I don't go out there when there's people. Normally, when we go out there, there's fucking nobody except the stray gunshot in the distance.
Right. Which again, living in Wisconsin, I'm
Yeah.
used to that. That's no big deal to me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're out, in the woods, or hell, if I'm just hanging out at home and I hear a gunshot, it's like, oh, all right, well, somebody's shooting at one of the farms, probably. That's maybe sighting in their hunting rifle or something. Who cares?
But
Um,
it happened once. One time, people showed up, and we went down there with a goal. With a goal, we were going to try to summon the Mothman, and we're setting up. I got all the physical equipment set up, so I had 2 cameras set up. I had a tape recorder set up, and then we start pulling out the old esoteric goodies, and then 2 people walked up, and I looked around. I'm like, we shouldn't do this, should we? And they were like, nah, we shouldn't do this. So we chickened
who
out.
were the 2 people?
I don't know, 2 people, and this was just like a random Thursday. Like it wasn't even.
What time was it?
It's the middle of the day. It's the middle of the
Oh,
day. Just
well, you
some
never know
random
who's going to come
people.
out during the day, I guess. If it was like the middle of the night, I don't know when that place closes or anything either.
I mean, I don't think it does.
Okay.
I think you can just be out there. Nobody's, we've never had an issue where anybody's ever been like, you can't be out here. But we never see anybody out there ever. That was the
Right.
only time we ever saw anyone as a couple. They didn't say anything to us. They just kept walking.
I would have totally
So
just done it then. Been like, whatever. What are you going to like? Oh no, these people are going to judge me for being weird.
we'll look at them like, y'all want to get in on this? The more the
Yeah. But
merrier.
it's like,
No, honestly, we also saw 2 dead animals in town right before that point. It just all kind of felt bad.
huh,
It
okay.
felt like a bad idea, so we didn't do it. Um,
Sure. Yeah. No, I
anyway,
mean, there weren't many because we went on Friday. There were not a lot of people, like there were a handful. So it was more than 0, but not so many that I felt like it really got in the way of what we were trying to do for the most part. Now, if we had tried to do that on Saturday, that would have been a huge mess because there were a ton of people out there.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's why
yeah.
we didn't. That's why we did it on Friday instead. But yeah, still, now that I think about it, that light was weird. It really was. I should have been able, if there was a human being holding a flashlight, I should have been able to see them on my thermal cam, and I could not.
Yeah, that sounds weird.
So yeah, I can't explain that.
Well, good for you for having a weird experience at the TNT area. It's a
Well,
once in a
thank you.
lifetime event, I guess.
I see weird lights all the time. It's
Well,
true.
you should make a map, Tobias's map of weird lights and where you see
Yeah.
them. So,
Mostly in the Kettle Moraine and also Point Pleasant's TNT area, I guess.
well, but one thing you got to remember, Tobias, is that just because you see weird lights all the time doesn't mean everybody else does,
Get on my level, everybody else.
because they don't. I got to come hang out with you to see them.
Yeah, right. No, it was. Yeah, you're right. Like it was. It's always special when something like that happens. Although, again, like if anybody listening to that going like, "Whatever, dude, you saw a flashlight." Okay, of course, like that's the easy explanation. Somehow my camera didn't pick up the human being holding it. Crazier things have happened, and if anybody dismisses it as that, I'm not going to get mad about it because I haven't made up my mind on what actually happened. I'm just saying it's weird that I couldn't see anybody on my thermal cam.
We tell weird stories all the time on this show, and
Right.
yeah, believe them or you don't, and that's fine either way, because it's we have no definitive proof of anything, and nothing matters. So,
True.
um, so then you guys, you do your you do your little filming at the TNT area, and then you guys go back home and get ready for the festival.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was back to the cabin and straight to bed at that point because we wanted to get up early because of parking, of course. So
Yeah,
parking is. Ooh, my dogs are going bananas. I don't know
your
what that's
dogs don't
about.
like parking. They're
Yeah,
mad
they're
about
probably mad at how fucked the parking situation is for the festival. So yeah, parking is a mess. Honestly, it's not as bad as you would think for a town that small trying to accommodate between 10 and 15,000 people. Um, because like literally everybody, like anybody with like a scrap of pavement is selling parking in Point Pleasant during Mothman Festival.
Oh yeah.
So if you're cool, shelling out $20, most of the parking was $20. We parked at the church parking lot for $15, which had a ton of parking still when we got there. I don't know why it wasn't more popular because, it was $5 less than like every other place. Unless people just really dislike that Baptist church in particular. I don't know why they would. They seemed really nice. Anyway, so yeah, we wanted to get up early to get to the festival by 9, which we accomplished. No problem. Parked in the church parking lot for $15, which again was cheaper than most of the other parking. And we were off,
And what did you do the first part of the? Because I wasn't there yet. I didn't show up until like 1.
Yeah, somebody was 2 hours late.
So okay.
Yeah.
So I'm 2 hours away from Point Pleasant, and which isn't that bad at all.
Yeah.
It's definitely a day trip, right? And they picked me up. They were a little bit late, but it wasn't terrible. It was about 8:30. We want to leave by 8, but that's cool. 8:30 is fine. And I decided to do my makeup in the car, so I didn't have to wake up even earlier at home because I'm lazy.
Okay.
So I get all the stuff that I need, and I need a lot of shit. I got to carry a lot of shit with me. Being a type 1 diabetic, I got to make sure that I have, of course, my medications, my blood sugar monitor, and all kinds of shit. I got to make sure I got sugar with me. I've got everything, and I get in the car and I do my makeup, and we're just all kind of chit chatting, and then I start looking for my phone. And we're about an hour into the drive. We're halfway there. And I didn't have it. And I have to have it. And that sounds crazy, but I do. I do have to have it. I wear a monitor on my body that tells me if my blood sugar is going low. It's medical equipment. I have to have it.
Sure.
So we had to turn back, drive the hour all the way back home, and then get there. So
Oh, that sucks.
It was terrible, but you guys had done the tour anyway. Which
Yeah, we were going to go on the 1:00 tour. So we spent the morning just kind of bumming around, going to, different booths and stuff. And, I bought some things, I went to the Withville UFO booth. I didn't recognize that it was their booth. I had no idea, that it was like the Withville UFO, like the people who put that event together, their booth
Yeah.
and all I saw was they had a bunch of hand towels with like Mothman and the Flatwoods Monster on them. And I was like, wow, Emily, I think would really like these. So I stopped to buy some hand towels, which they ran out of. So it was a good thing I did. And yeah, they seemed really nice at the time. And I hope I've never met them before because I must seem like such a jerk because I certainly didn't act like I knew them because I didn't recognize them at all.
Yeah.
But
I think
but yeah,
that I meet a lot of people that like assume that I know who they are, and I don't.
I don't know who anybody is. I don't,
From like just from like social media or like other
Right.
events. I'm like, oh yeah, we met at the one thing. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I met fucking 50 people that day at least. Probably
Yeah.
more like 1,000. But yeah.
Worst is if somebody like follows you on social media and you interact with them occasionally on there, and they'll come up to you and act like you're old friends or something. And look, it's awesome to meet people on social media, and I interact with so many cool people, and I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I also wouldn't assume that any of you necessarily know or like remember who I am. So I would always I would make sure to introduce myself and be like, oh yeah, it's me, it's Tobias Whalen. We talk on, Twitter sometimes or whatever. So please do that, because I'm not going to remember who you are if we only talk on social media. Like you got to tell me that's not true. I won't recognize your face. I will remember your name if we interact a lot. And you're like, oh, it's me from Facebook. I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, sure. We chat on there. Awesome. But I'm not going to recognize your face because I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah. I don't like sit and stare at people's photos and, You know, I mean, even if I do, it doesn't translate into real life for me. I just there's something about it. It doesn't until you tell me who you
Right.
are. I have no fucking idea who you are.
Yeah. So just introduce yourself like a normal person.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
pretty much. Yeah, I got into the festival and it um starts pretty quickly for me as far as being recognized, but you know, I'm easily recognizable.
Mhm.
You know, because of the red hair and the dress like an alien. So as soon as we get in and we have our stuff and we're taking them over to the tent that we're hanging out at, somebody immediately comes up and is like, "Oh, it's me, so and so." They did it the right way. They told me who they were, and we talked for a minute, and that's okay. That's fine. I've had people at the Mothman Festival approach me under bad circumstances. And that's not
Okay.
okay. So like the first, not the first year they had back, so 2021, I was having a low blood sugar and I was in there trying not to die. So I had my ice cream and I'm sitting here trying to shovel ice cream in my face and it's, 1000 degrees outside and so I'm sweating and it's gross and I'm gross and I'm having a hard time. And somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Oh my god, you're Asherz." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can I get a picture?" And I'm like, "Can you come back in like 20 minutes? I'm trying, I got to eat this ice cream." And I think that maybe he, I don't think I told him that like I was having a medical emergency.
Uh,
So he's like, "Oh, it'll just take a second." Took our picture anyway. And then I didn't see him again for the rest of the festival. But no, the first person that approached me about band, everybody this year was fine. But it has happened before where I'm like, now is not the time. But the first guy that approached me, I once he told me who he was, I recognized who he was. He's followed for a long time. Shared his grandfather's dog man story with me. That his dad saw dog man in West Virginia. He's actually from the area, now lives in a different state, but came back to visit and was just so happened to be in town when the Mothman Festival was happening. And yeah, he shared his dad's dogman encounter with me. I'm not going to share it here. What I've been doing and what I anticipate on doing more often is sharing these types of things over on the Patreon. So I did type it up over there. If you guys are interested, go check that out. Patreon.com/Wednesdays Talk. But we talked for a little bit and he went on his way. And then, of course, we just kind of settled in for a moment. We hang out at Erie Eric's tent, which is literally right next to the statue. They have a super nice setup behind the tent for people to be able to come kind of hang out at. Um, can't say enough good about Eric and Carrie. Fucking the best people in the world. And if you don't own art by Eric, you should. It's great. Um, and of course, Sean Forker was there. You know Sean. I didn't know that you guys knew each
yeah.
other.
Oh, of
Um,
course. Yeah, absolutely. We'd never met in person, so
oh, really?
being able to kind of hang out for a minute and chat in person was really cool.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know you guys have never met each other. Well, I guess why would you, you know?
Well, I mean, we talked online a
Yeah.
ton, and we've been in like message groups and stuff together. We've done podcast appearances and all this other stuff. We just had never met in real life before.
Yeah.
So we knew each other. We just had never met in real life.
Yeah, I've gotten to hang out with him quite a bit. Very nice guy.
Yeah,
The
he's cool.
nicest guy, you know? So that's always a treat to see him. And of course, I waited for you to show up from your tour that you took.
Yep.
How was the tour? Did you learn anything cool?
It was all right. I can't say that I learned anything I didn't already know, but I didn't expect to. Um, Really, I just wanted somebody to drive me around in an air conditioned bus, and they definitely did that. That was amazing. Felt great.
10 out of 10.
Um, right? No, but I think if you were going there and you wanted to have like the Point Pleasant tourist experience, you got to take the bus tour. You have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they did like show us a bunch of cool stuff, and like that was fun. We went out to the TNT area, which we had already been to, but whatever, I'll go again. Actually gave me an opportunity to grab some dirt for Adam because I forgot the first time I was out there. And then, they take you around and kind of show you where some things happen. They show you the actual road between like the fairgrounds and the TNT area where the Scarberry mallet sighting was supposed to have happened. And, so that was neat. They showed you, they show you like where Mary Heyer lived and all this stuff. So where her office was. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting from that perspective, of just being able to go around and see some of these places that maybe you've only heard about or read about before. Like they exist, you can go see them. So yeah, it was fun. I would recommend anybody go ahead and do it if you're going to be out there.
And I believe they do the tours outside of the festival too. So I think if you go on any given probably weekend, I think they have a tour schedule out there. I know they shut it down for a long time, but I think they picked them back up again.
Okay.
So it's definitely something you can do. If you can't make it out to the festival, but maybe you can make it out in a random march or something.
Sure,
you don't so
why
much
not?
need the air conditioning then, but
Yeah.
it's still interesting to do. Um, so I waited until Tobias got back because I didn't want to go brave the crowd because we had work to do. So
Right.
I wanted to make sure that work got done. And we didn't get enough done, but that's okay.
We got
We
a lot
we
more than
yeah,
I
we
expected.
I
So
guess I can't judge that. If you feel like you got a lot, I feel like damn, there's so much more. But it's just part of it.
there's always
Everybody's
more.
yeah, exactly. And everybody's always tired, especially at that point. You're like halfway through the festival and you're just like, wow, kind of starting to hit the wall a little bit. Not just you, but just like the people that, I had in mind for you to speak with. But we did. And one of those people we spoke with was Mark May, who um, believes that he is reincarnated from one of the victims of the Silver Bridge collapse, which is interesting, to say the least. Mark's a cool guy. I like him, and because when you
Sure.
say that, when you make that claim initially, you're like, oh, okay, here's another crazy person. No,
Yeah,
he's
you
a
expect him
very
to be like some kind of fruitcake. Yeah.
yeah, and he's not. He's a teacher. Um, Not that there aren't crazy teachers out there, but no, he's a well-rounded individual, and I think his story is interesting. I didn't know. So he also told us about how he's had a snarly yowl sighting. I didn't know that part about him. So I learned something new. Tobias, what did you think about Mark May and his experiences?
Yeah, I enjoyed being able to speak with him and hear his story. He didn't strike me as um the kind of person like you mentioned that I think most people picture when they hear somebody saying that they were reincarnated from anybody, but then specifically somebody who died in the Silver Bridge disaster. Yeah, you if you're picturing some new age weirdo, that's not who he is.
No.
At least not that's not what I saw. He seemed like a sort of genuine, authentic human being. Just a relatively normal person who had incredible experiences, and so um, it was very interesting to hear that story coming from someone seemingly so credible. Because again, like if it came from almost anybody else, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't even entertain it.
Yeah.
But coming from him, I was like, okay. I mean, like I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, I don't believe in anything because belief isn't particularly useful to what I do, and I don't mean that in the way that I'm actively disbelieving everything. I just mean that I think that things either exist or they don't, and whether or not I believe in them is not particularly important. And so I need to try to remain objective, and I'm perfectly comfortable existing in that liminal space between entertaining an idea and fully subscribing to it. And so that's where I'm at with his story, just like I am with many people's stories. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm willing to allow for it as a possibility. But if it had come from some extreme new age weirdo who did not in any way seem credible, then chances are I would have been willing to entertain it a little less. But it didn't. No, and it was very interesting how he talked about sort of what led up to him deciding that he had been reincarnated, and then his experiences since then, and some of the people that he's talked to and interacted with, and then the Snarly Owl sighting, which is interesting in and of itself. And we talked about phantom black dogs on the podcast, and I think we even mentioned how you get sightings of them here in the States, but it's usually within these areas that were settled by people from the British Isles, so they brought those stories with them, and it's just so interesting to me that like these sightings still happen, like these phenomena, right? Like whatever they are, seem to follow people. I mean, populations of people to new areas when they move there. So that was fascinating, it's just everything about it. I know you've interviewed Mark on the podcast before. So anybody who really wants to get his full story should just go back and listen to that.
I haven't actually.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Well, what the fuck? Why not? I thought you did.
I haven't.
Well, why? Well, what are we doing? I mean, what even is this? What even is this?
No, Mark's never been on the show. I met Mark, of course, through these events. Somebody else was like, "We have to meet him. He's one of the victims from the Silver Bridge," and I was like, "I was pretty young." And then they explained. I was like, "Oh, interesting." Of course, say, expecting a quack, and I guess that's rude to say. I shouldn't put it that way, but you know what I mean. Damn it.
No, I absolutely know what you mean.
And I'm just like, oh, here we go. But no, he's actually a really, like I said, really well-rounded individual. And, the way he tells the story, it makes a lot of sense. The way he talks about his experiences and kind of how he came to this conclusion. It's very interesting, very compelling. And it wasn't really by choice. It's not like he was born and he's like, yep, I died in the Silver Bridge. It was, a progressive thing in his life.
Right.
And I think it's really fascinating. Maybe we should have him on the show because I don't think we've ever talked to anybody. I've never talked to anybody on the show who has been reincarnated. So
no, that would be super interesting. Yeah, what the hell? I for whatever reason I thought that you had before I was co-hosting, but yeah, we definitely have to have him on the show now. Well, I guess we should. I don't think we need to go through the entirety of his experiences, but yeah, giving people the overview would be a good idea. We already touched on him claiming to have been reincarnated from somebody who passed away in the Silver Bridge, and that's interesting enough. But he did go on to sort of share some of his opinions and other things that he had heard. He's another one of those people who doesn't think that Mothman is connected to the Silver Bridge. So we got along immediately, just because of that. Like if you don't think the Mothman was connected to the Silver Bridge disaster, then if nothing else, you're right about one thing, and you can hold on to that.
Checks all the boxes for me.
Right. It's an important box, because we interviewed some other people, locals, people who'd been around. And I think the reality of the Silver Bridge disaster, when you talk to people who were there and who know, is that nobody connected Mothman to the Silver Bridge until John Keel needed an ending for the Mothman prophecies, and he put it in his book. So
Yep.
Yeah,
That is the reality of it all at the end of the day. Of
right.
course, if you guys listen to this show, you already know that, but maybe you're new here. I don't know. Maybe you're just maybe that's the one thing you disagree with us on. We're right about everything else though, so why wouldn't we be right about this?
I mean, people can be wrong if they want. I can't stop them,
Yeah,
but
yeah. What can't be
I
me
don't.
though. I don't know. It's
I don't have to like it. Look, I'm not one of those people who has a tendency to make their mind up about something if I don't feel like I have enough information. Like I just said, like I am fine with just not knowing
yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
I'm also fine with changing my mind based on new information.
Oh yeah,
So if
absolutely.
somebody had some compelling evidence to connect those events that I have never seen before, then awesome. I would love to see it. And if it truly is compelling, I would change my mind. I just don't think that it exists. And the more I uncover, the less possible I think that is.
Yeah. Right. I mean, but you'll kind of find that with a lot of these more local people. I mean, that's just kind of that is par for the course for them to not find any connection between the Mothman and the Silver Bridge. And that's the part that's really interesting, and you miss out on that when you're not able to talk to the locals, when you're not able to go and get into the culture of it all.
Right.
Um, so yeah, and speaking with Mark about it, of course, he has his own string of synchronicities and weird things pertaining to the Mothman. He's never claimed to have seen the Mothman. He just believes that he was one of the victims of the Silver Bridge collapse. He even has it. He even thinks he knows who it is, and doesn't want to
Right.
disclose that information publicly, and that's totally fine. I'm not going to say any more about it. He can share whatever he wants on the show when we get him on, but that's so. I mean, the guy takes that part pretty seriously.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. Yeah. If,
He's
if
done his
if
work.
nothing else, he seems like a considerate person, and I appreciate that. So
Yep, yep. And then we walked around looking for because it's kind of getting late in the day, and in my mind, I have to kind of decide. I kind of have to make a decision for you about who you need to talk to next.
right.
Not really for you, but just like I know what kind of know what you're looking for, kind of know
Yeah,
what
I
you
mean,
need to
you could
hear.
set up some interviews and talk to some people that you
Yeah,
thought would be interesting, and at a certain point, you have to prioritize.
right.
Who is the person who needs to be in this book.
Yep. So I'm trying to figure out where this person is, and the next person, which was Linda Sigmund. We went down to initially the Wild and Weird West Virginia tents because she talks to them a lot, and so she could have been down there, she wasn't. But we hung out with them, hung out with, I guess I'll give a quick shout out to Adam Good. Adam Good, who is holding a CE5 workshop here in October in somewhere West Virginia. I don't know. I'll get you guys the information on that, but very interesting. Adam Good was on the show. Me and Tobias, talked to him. He is not an abductee, a contactee, I guess is the right word, right? Because he
Yeah,
never
I
claimed to
think
be
so.
abducted, just that he's got contact with something. So interesting guy. Go, check out that episode if you want to. And you could meet Adam. And like I said, I'll get you guys that information. Went and talked to Robin and Mr. Robin for a moment. Mystic Novelty Co. is the name of their art, but they're the Withful UFO people. Didn't find Linda yet, so we went down and you guys wanted to talk to me about Endred, which is fine. So
Hmm.
we did that for while we were kind of sitting because I did find Linda's son and told him to send her over as soon as she got back. She was doing like an interview with the TV station or something, and
Which he seemed really concerned about.
he did seem really concerned about it. I don't know what he thought they were doing to
I
her,
have no
but
idea, but like he thought maybe she had just been gone too long, and he didn't know what was going to happen. And boy, like and I'm not trying to make fun of him. I felt really bad. I was like, "What is happening here? I don't know how to help. Like, like what
Do we
the
need to go
hell?
track her down? Like, do we need
Like
to go find
seriously,
her?
like is she in danger? And I'm not trying to be flippant. Like, is there some medical need that you think is not being addressed? Like, what the hell?
Well, she's
It was
74, and it was 92 out.
yeah,
You know?
it just was very strange to me. Like,
It it was. He was very intense, and I've met Chris before, and he's not usually so intense. As soon as we walked up, he said, "Ashley, Mom has been looking for you, but I don't know where she is. She's been gone for an hour."
right, getting interviewed by the local Fox station or something.
I'm like, "She's been looking for me. I don't, is this a threat? I don't."
Yeah, right.
Um,
She's
no, but
gonna
yeah,
kick your ass.
I know. Like, is she mad that I heard her? What did I do? But she was fine. She did end up, while we're sitting there doing the injured cold stuff, which we didn't, get to finish, but that's okay. We got the majority of it out of the way, and we could do that at any time. But
Oh, sure. I
um,
feel like we got pretty much. I don't know. I feel like we were
whatever
winding
you
down
needed.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an injured cold book. It's just
Right.
you don't need all of that. So anyway, so she does come up finally. Linda Sigmund is one of the original Mothman witnesses during the 66 to 67 flap, which is interesting. I mean, it's almost like, finding a needle in a haystack nowadays because, well, most of them are dead. I hate to
True.
say that, but it happened a long time ago. Um, which Linda's story is always very interesting. I know she was tired, so she didn't really want to tell you guys much, but she kind of told you the gist of what happened. Her and her boyfriend saw a UFO. They were very afraid of the UFO. They were sitting outside of their car. And the Mothman creature came and actually picked her up and put her back into the car, which she
My,
believes is,
my
you know,
favorite part of that story is they see this UFO and her boyfriend just fucking bugs out and leaves her there.
yeah.
Like, I didn't get a chance, but the question I would ask is like, did you break up with him? Like, how did this affect your relationship?
Well, she's
Because
single, so there's
yeah,
that.
right. I guess that says it all. She didn't seem tired to me at all. To her credit, because we kind of talked to her, and I mentioned that I wasn't going to be there the next day, but my writing partner was, and she, of course, agreed to talk to him. And I heard they had a very lovely conversation on Sunday. But
Mhm.
when she found out that I wasn't going to be there, she's like, "Oh, well, do you have any questions?" And I'm put on the spot, and I can't immediately think of anything because the only questions I would have would involve her just telling the whole story anyway.
Right. What happened?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so, so she launches into the story, and I'm
Yep.
like, "Well, holy shit! Okay, are we just going to do this?" And yeah, she basically gave us the gist of it. And I'll be interested to hear what all her and Richard talked about the next day. I'm sure I'll get a chance to listen to that. But yeah, no, like that is such an interesting story because you don't hear a lot about people falling off a car and getting picked up by Mothman and then set, I think gently, probably back into the car. That seems
He
really
just threw
helpful.
her in there.
Yeah, he just drop kicks her right into the car. Get the fuck
Yeah.
in that car, lady.
It is a very unique story, and it shows this thing, not just showing up in our world, but interacting directly with it, and that's
Yeah,
interesting.
it is. It's just physical contact with Mothman is not something you hear a lot of, or ever, really.
Yeah, she sought me out, which was interesting. I didn't know about her. I didn't know about her story until me and her met. At the first lecture I ever gave was in Marietta, Ohio, talking about Mothman at their paranormal convention, and she came up to my table and we just instantly connected. It was so weird. It
Nice.
was
Yeah. No.
so
Do you
weird.
know when the first time she talked about this was?
I don't actually. I think she's always talked about it, but I don't think I can pinpoint when exactly because she knows everybody. I mean, she knows all the people, in Point Pleasant, all the key players.
I'm just curious if she was
So
talking about it back in the
back
'60s.
then, yeah, back when I think she didn't talk about it initially for a while. Now she didn't have that's the thing about the Mothman sightings that people need to understand is that, for one, they didn't all happen in Point Pleasant. Not even majority of them happened in Point Pleasant.
Right.
They were all happening roughly around the Ohio River, more specifically in Ohio and in West Virginia. So she wasn't a part of like the Mothman hype that had been going on because her sighting, I think she said, was like what, 30, 40 miles away from Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
Um, so she
Yeah.
didn't
We're
talk
like
about it.
Mason or something.
I think, well,
Trying to remember the
what
name of it. I don't know.
was
Whatever. Don't
Mason?
listen to me. I don't know what I'm
It's
talking
all
about.
Mason County, so I don't know if maybe it was within the same county, just on the other side. We'll
I
get
don't
her
know.
on the show, and she can share the details specifically. But we have talked about kind of her earlier life and kind of what that looked like, and she did initially talk about it, but I think she had like really super religious parents or something, and it was not something that they wanted to talk about.
Right.
you
Well,
know, so very interesting. But I don't think that I think it predated like the movie and stuff when when she did start talking about it. I don't know. Again, we'll get her on the show. I won't ask her all those questions. She's a
sure.
character.
Yeah, she seemed really, really, really fun to hang out with.
Yeah,
So
she's super nice. She gave me, it's funny because she comes up and she reaches in her pocket and pulls out this painted rock. It's an owl that she painted. And she's
nice.
like, here's this. And she just looks at me. She's, it's one of those things. And I'm like, I know. And I can't explain to everybody else what that means, but I know what it means.
Okay, it's just
So
one of those things, huh?
it's just one of those things, and I get it. Like I
Okay,
said,
well, I'm glad somebody does.
there's this weird phenomena that happens with Mothman witnesses, and we just have this. It's fucking strange. We have this weird bond. I don't know. It is very, very odd. And there's been very few people that I've come across that we don't share that. Ron from Wildwood, West Virginia, he's another one of them. And it's just, I don't know. You just click. Maybe Mothman has a certain type, and that's why we all get along.
Yeah, who knows? You never know.
So Talk to Linda was neat. And then you guys took off pretty shortly after that because it was exhausting, and that's fine.
Right.
You had people with you, and so you were kind of having to get everybody to want to stay as hard. And that's okay. It's okay. And then I don't know what you guys did after that.
Nothing.
I'm assuming nothing.
Basically, went to dinner and went back to the cabin and went to bed. Because
Did you
I mean, it was late enough by the
Yeah.
time we left. We left and went right to dinner. So
I mean, it was like 4 o'clock. I think the last beer goes on at 6.
yeah,
Which is
no,
like the
it was a
official
little later. It
close.
was a little later than 4, but like, yeah, it was just before. It was like maybe between 4:30 and 5, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um,
Because when
did
we weren't having dinner at like weirdly early, like we weren't having it when my grandparents would have had it or anything. It wasn't,
well, you gotta find your friends, right? Then you gotta get the fuck out of there.
right.
I don't know. Where'd you guys go have dinner?
There's a place in Gallipolis called the fuck's it called? The Colony that we really
Oh,
liked. We went there Friday, just picked it at it was kind of picked at random, but it was mostly picked because Richard's British. And so it was generally agreed upon that it would be hilarious to go to a place called the Colony with our British friend. Yeah, right. I know. And
Sounds like a reverse racism.
it was fine. Everybody had a good laugh,
Did you hear
and
Linda was like, "Are you Australian?"
that was the best. Be like, well, I mean, kind of. Are you asking me? Are you asking him if he's been to prison? Like what? What's happening? But anyway, so yeah, like we went there Friday, and it was really good. And so we needed to go someplace on Saturday, and nobody had the bandwidth to try to figure out where to go to dinner. So we just went back to the same place, and it was very good again.
Well,
So
but here's the most important question, Tobias. Did you go to Tudor's?
no, I never did.
Wow.
When was I gonna
Wow.
go? It's only open from like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something.
Well, then you make sure your ass is there at 10. Yeah, you're
I
right. It
didn't
does
do
have
it.
really weird hours. You missed out. I'm telling you.
I'm sure I did. I'll
You
suffer for the rest of my life. It
did you
seems
even
like it's a
drink?
chain too. Like where all do they have these places?
It is a chain, but honestly, it is like mostly a West Virginian thing. So like we have one, but we probably have a couple, but like the only one I know of is like 30 minutes away from me. So I mean they are in Ohio, but
Okay.
they're not. I don't know. Like I said, I think they started in West Virginia. I honestly don't know, but it's Tudor's Biscuit World. You missed out. You could have had a Peppy. You could have
I
had
could have. I'll
oh
have one someday. I will look up Tudor's Biscuit World because I go to, if not West Virginia, I go to a lot of states adjacent to West Virginia. So the odds of me being
it's got to be
within,
somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, like being in the vicinity of one of these places is pretty high. It's not like I don't go to Ohio and Kentucky a lot, at least a couple times a year.
You would never try it if somebody didn't tell you to try it. It's one of those places.
Yeah.
And you just look at it, you're like, really? Tudor's Biscuit World, really? And then someone takes you there or whatever, they suggest it, and you're like, okay, let's check it out. Then you're like disappointed that you missed all those opportunities your whole life.
Okay. Fair,
Here I
fair
am. I'm
enough.
hyping it up. But you know what? It's gonna live up to the hype when you have it. But okay, so
Yeah. Great.
did you like drink double the Mountain Dew since you were there in West Virginia? I mean, to make up for your lack of tutors?
That would have been hilarious. I think I had a Diet Mountain Dew at least once. This is how I know that we all have been exposed to rural poverty, in our lives, is because you mentioned Mountain Dew specifically. And I remember as a kid having that for breakfast sometimes, and how much fun that was.
Sounds
But
right. Yeah.
yeah, no, so hilarious. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, yeah, I like Mountain Dew. I have to have the diet now though, because I watch my calories. So
That's smart. Me too, because I'll die.
right, right.
It's not worth dying. It won't kill me, but either way, it's just not worth shooting up for.
Yeah, for sure.
What about a pepperoni roll? Did you have any pepperoni roll while you were there?
I didn't. I didn't think I ate. No, I didn't have any pepperoni rolls. What the hell? I try to be healthy now. So like literally every day for breakfast, I had the same like protein shake with like creatine that I have every day after I work out because I didn't want to stop taking the creatine because I didn't want to have it like build up in my system again to start working when I came back. And then otherwise, I don't know what the hell that ate. Oh, you know what? There's another place we went to twice. So there's this Mexican restaurant in Point Pleasant, and I forgot what it's called, but the people there were really nice, and so we went there for lunch on Friday, and like it was fine, like I thought, it was good. They had something called a protein bowl, which I ate, and it seemed relatively healthy and had a lot of protein in it, so I appreciated that. And it tasted good, which is rare for anything even remotely healthy. Um, and they had a bunch of Mothman themed stuff.
Sure.
Like you get like a Mothman enchilada or something. So that was fun for everybody else who wanted to order something like that. And then like tourists everywhere, once we had been to a place that was comfortable, we just went back to it. So we actually ate at literally the same now that I think about it, at the same places Friday and Saturday. Because we went to the Mexican place the Mexican place in Point Pleasant for lunch on Friday, and then the Colony for dinner, and we did the exact same thing on Saturday.
That's okay.
Yeah. I
I
had a
never had the
Mothman
Colony.
chimichanga though, and it was good.
Oh, okay.
It
Well,
had a whole
there
ass
you go.
banana in it.
A whole banana.
Whole banana. I think it was a whole banana, just cut in half. Yeah, cut in half down the middle.
Oh. I
Yeah,
don't know what's worse. I don't know what the proper cut your banana way is. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's down
so
the middle
like,
or
like Phil Schneider style. He's right
just,
down the middle. Split like a hot dog.
you know, oh, poor Mothman's banana.
It was good though. Again, I enjoyed it. I took a picture of it because it was Mothman shaped, of course, which is why I ordered it, but it was also very delicious. So
Yeah, lots of gimmicks. Well, if you're into that type of thing, definitely, I tell everybody, make the trek down to Point Pleasant. It's worth it. Just don't go don't if you're going for the first time, don't go during the festival. That's my advice.
I
Tobias,
don't
you might
listen to
feel
you. So
I was gonna say
so
you might feel
there.
differently, but
Uh no, I mean it's whatever. Go whenever you want. It depends on why you're going. If you want the Mothman culture, go during the festival. Of course.
yeah,
You have to.
yeah,
If you don't care about the cultural influence of Mothman on this small town and you're more interested in the mystery, then yeah, probably don't go during the festival. I was interested in both, so I got there early to try to get the best of both worlds, and I thought it worked out pretty well.
yeah. It's pretty. And it depends on what you're into. If you don't like people, stay away from the festival.
There are a lot of people.
There are a lot of people, but you see so many. Everybody's so creative with their costumes and cosplays, and you can take pictures of them if you want to.
Oh
I always
yeah.
feel weird about it, like stopping somebody. Can I take a picture with you? But like, I know that they like it, but I feel weird about it, so
Oh,
I
well,
don't ever.
sure. I mean, it's awkward and you're initiating a social interaction with a stranger. Like, that's
Right.
never not weird.
I'm not trying to take up anybody's time. But like I said, they know what they're doing at the same time. Like they understand like what it is that they're
Oh,
doing.
sure.
So I don't know.
Yeah, nobody's wearing cosplay to go unnoticed, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then yesterday you spent pretty much all day driving back home. Is it? That's what I hear.
Yeah, it's a nice little 9.5 hour drive from where I live in Wisconsin to Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So I did it on Friday and then I did it again on Sunday.
Wow.
So yeah,
You
good times. I was in 5 states each of those days.
you should have taken Nate with you, but he didn't want to go
Or I
because he
did it
went
on
to the cheese
Thursday and Sunday.
festival.
I should have taken Nate with me. Then I would have had somebody to talk to.
Wait, but he doesn't regret his cheese festivities. He says, "I ate a lot of cheese," and in all
Yeah.
caps. In case
Well,
you guys
he
didn't
might have
know.
made the right decision going to he went to a cheese festival instead of the
Yeah.
Mothman festival because there's a cheese festival in Wisconsin, which should come as no surprise to anyone because of course we have one of those.
Oh yeah, he polka'd too. Polka. I struggle saying that word. He polka'd.
Right.
Sounds
So,
weird.
but yeah, no, I was in 5 states on Thursday and then 5 states on Sunday, but it was still worth it because we got a lot done.
Yeah.
I accomplished most of pretty much everything. Like there's always other things I would have liked to have done, but there's nothing I felt like I needed to do that
Yeah.
didn't get done.
Yeah. There's always more. There's always more people you could talk to, or more time you could spend on certain things. But that's the beauty of it is that it'll still be there. If you decide to go back.
You never know. Hey, maybe someday they'll invite me
Maybe they will. That'd be
and I'll
nice.
go because I
Everybody
totally
should
would.
demand it. Everybody
They
that
should
listens to the
demand
show.
it. Speaking of being recognized, like people, I don't know if it's just the way that I look or what. Like if I'm just super unapproachable, but people usually don't come up to me. Like they're very reluctant to come up to me. So I know, right? It's kind of funny because I'm like, why?
I
Like
don't know,
what did
Tobias.
I
You're
do?
always like, I won't read your comments, and
Well, fuck those comments. Probably negative, and I don't have the mental fortitude to deal with it.
no, I found that interesting too, actually, because I'll tell you, the people that were there have probably seen you on TV.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, who here didn't watch, like, at a minimum, the new Unsolved Mysteries about Mothman? Of course you did. All of you did.
Yeah, and it was you. And
It was.
but I said it's because you didn't have the flannel on, and I know that it was way too hot for a flannel. But I'm just saying, I think if you would have had the flannel on with the hat, people would have been like, "That's the guy."
I think what it is like, it's probably a mixture of like people not okay. It's when you see somebody on TV and then you see them in real life, it's different, you know? Like you may not immediately realize that that's the person from TV.
Yeah,
But even beyond that, like, you know, some people just don't pay attention very well, which
yeah.
literally happened. Like somebody on Twitter was responding to something Richard posted that had pictures with me in it, and they said something like, "Oh, have you seen the new Unsolved Mysteries episode about Mothman?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm here with the guy from it," and had to like point out the picture I'm in. So there's some of that. And then, yeah, I think generally speaking, some people just are nervous or reluctant to approach somebody just because they saw them on television, which I totally get because
Yeah.
I would not do that either. So,
Well, right, it is
most,
weird. It's like, what do you talk about?
yeah, right. Be like, oh, I saw you on Unsolved Mysteries. Be like, cool. I saw you at the Mothman Festival right now.
That's
You
why,
know?
like, when I go to a horror convention and I'm like meeting the celebrities or whatever, I will like pregame a question in my mind, and usually the question is, "Do you believe in aliens?" And some of them are really bitchy. Some of them get really into it. It just
Right.
depends. But that's what I do mentally, and I'll do that at like these events too. I like, Jeff Craig actually told me one time. He was just telling me how he introduced himself to somebody, and he was like, I went up to so and so, and I said, told him who I was, and said I just wanted to, introduce myself and meet you. And I was like, oh, that's a really good approach. I never thought of that before.
Just going up and being a normal person to them.
Right.
Who would
Never
have ever
considered
thought of
that.
that? So, well, it's
You
different.
know.
Like if I'm behind a table, then
Right.
yeah, of course, people have no problem coming up and talking to me. It's just when you're out walking around, I think that people are reluctant to come up and like stop you and be like, "Hey, I saw you on TV." Well, I'm not. Look, if you've seen me and you see me walking around and you want to come up and say hi, I would love that. I don't, you don't have to be afraid to do it. I just get why people don't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Well, and just like I was saying about the cosplayers and stuff, it's awkward to go to approach them, and even though I
Right.
know what they're there for,
Yeah. So like I caught a lot
that's
of people looking at me.
they're
And
like, is
then
that
like they would look away if they noticed me noticing them looking at me.
yeah?
So
Well, right. It's like seeing just a celebrity out in the wild. You're like, is that so and so? I don't know. What if it's not so and so?
right.
There's a there's somebody at my work. I don't tell people where I work, but none of us do, and there's a good reason for it, because we work for the government. And anyway, so one of the women that I talk to a lot, and I work from home. I'm remote. We've never met each other, but we've bonded, right, since working a little bit. So I don't know what she looks like. Um, there was a person posting in my local Facebook group, and I was like, is that my Elizabeth? That's not her name, but I'd always wonder, because her last name is not shared. It's like obviously a fake last name, and I'm like, So she had posted something. We've been in a drought lately, and she had posted something about the drought. And so the next time I spoke to her at work through a work setting, I kind of mentioned it, and I was like, she's either going to know exactly what I'm talking about, or she's just going to think I'm crazy. And it turns out it was her.
Whoa.
So I was like, I know, but I didn't want to say anything because, the government. But anyway, so
So you're stalking your coworker
I
online is
am.
what I got out of
Yeah,
that.
I'm cyber stalking my coworker. Real nice lady.
Yeah, I
I've-
mean, sounds really cool. I'd probably stalk her too.
I've given her a different name, even. She likes rain. But people just feel that, you feel that way. You're like, I don't know. You second guess yourself. You're like,
Right.
so then they don't approach, and it's, a little bit different. Um, like I said, I am a little more easily like I'm hard to miss, so, but I've had people like say to me, like they'll go to events that I'm at where I even have tables at, where I even give talks at. And then they'll message me later on social media and be like, oh, I was too afraid to approach. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
I
Don't.
think the difference when people approach you at an event like that is, now correct me if I'm wrong, but is it usually somebody you've like interacted with online?
It can be. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I will say that I probably do have more of an interpersonal relationship with people online.
Yeah, because I don't have many, like I don't participate in parasocial relationships a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not like, if somebody messages me, especially if they want to relate an experience or something, I'm there for them and I'm going to talk to them. But I don't hang out with people online like, I don't know, like other people do.
Yeah,
Like,
I
well, for
used to
instance,
do. Oh, go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I'll go. I used
Okay,
to
you
do
go.
like a lot of like live streams and stuff, and not just like I would go be on people's live streams, but like I would also participate in the chats and stuff like that. When I started, pretty much, I mean, I had like 6 months brand new into this, and then the pandemic happened. So that was the only way you really could connect with people, was through the online community.
Right.
So, I just started in a different time than you did, where that was a little more normal, I guess.
Sure. Well, it's just my personality type too. I'm
Yeah.
kind of generally an introverted person. And so I just don't connect with, I think, the audience in the same way that you do, because you'll go and you'll post stuff that is going to get a bunch of responses as a way for you to just kind of communicate,
Yeah.
with the community and stuff. I never do that shit,
Yeah.
like generally never. Um, so yeah, I don't have that kind of relationship with uh, my audience or people, people who follow my work or whatever online, which I'm okay with, as long as other people are okay with it, because reading my work is way more important to me than hanging out with people. Honestly, like that's, I mean, you don't become a writer because you're a social butterfly, you know?
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. I like both. I like both a lot. And that's okay too. But Tobias is telling you guys that he is approachable.
I am approachable. Yeah. So I went on this whole long rant about how I'm like generally
I'm,
introverted,
I'm
and
introverted, but
I
approachable.
don't have those kinds of connections with people. I'm a human robot, but I'm also very approachable. So yes, please come introduce yourself to me and we'll take a selfie.
Meanwhile, I probably knew just about every single person that was vending at the Mothman and didn't get to talk to them on. I feel bad about it. I'm like, oh, sorry, I couldn't, but I didn't. Usually I'm there the whole weekend. I wasn't this time.
Right.
Um, but that's another thing too, is that the people in those areas are people that usually go to these events over and over again. So I see them, every time they're there, we're all there together. The people attending as well, you know.
Oh, sure.
Um, so some of the people I know, it's taken them a couple times to see me out and about at a different event before they finally come approach. So it just depends. Depends on who it is.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, totally. So yeah, again, like I'm just an awkward nerd, I mean, seriously, like I've been one my whole life. So I think people probably assume differently once you've, done some television and you start to become kind of a name, in the paranormal sphere. But no, it doesn't change anything. I'm still the same awkward nerd I've been my whole life, just because I can string together a few sentences on camera that are semi coherent doesn't make me suddenly not an awkward nerd in public.
So approach him, but he's still going to be awkward.
It's true.
It's okay. But Tobias, the people that you're pitching to anyway are also awkward. And that's another part of it is like, this is an awkward community. We're all fucking weird.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not discouraging anybody at all. Like we can all be nerds together. Like that's totally fine. And at this point, like I'm pretty well practiced at public appearances. So even like when I'm at something like that, you kind of treat it like any public appearance, frankly.
Sure.
And so, you
Yeah.
can kind of turn it on a little bit. And, so, makes it a little less awkward anyway.
Turn on the Riz, like the kids say. You become the Rizzler.
Yeah, no, totally that. I know what that word means. I use it all the time. I am very cool.
Yeah. Tobias the Rizzler. At Frogman, every single person that comes to my table, I'm going to demand after they leave, I'm like, have you seen Tobias? Have you talked to Tobias? I'm going to make them go over there. I mean, you're probably going to be right beside me, but I'm probably going to like walk them over.
Oh no! I mean, if I'm at a table, like then everybody comes and talks to me. Like,
yeah, that's true.
That's never an issue because it gives them permission.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like people. It's not like I'm ostracized at my official public appearances. No, people turn out and they want to talk to me. But again, there is implied, or it really actually in those situations, there's explicit social permission to interact.
Yeah.
So people are a lot more willing, I think, to just go up and do that than they would be if they just see you out and about walking around.
Well, and you don't really go to these things casually. So there's that. I mean, I don't know when the last casual event you went to was, but
for something like this, never.
Yeah.
If I wasn't doing book research, I wouldn't go.
Right. Exactly. So that does. I mean, that makes a huge difference. It does.
Yeah.
You don't have the table behind. Now, if you walked around with a table attached to the front of you, people would be like, "Oh, it's way."
I feel suddenly more comfortable going up and speaking to this man. It just seems like I have some sort of explicit permission granted to do so.
Yeah. Because Richard too, I don't know how many people approach Richard, but yeah, I mean he's no newbie,
Nobody. Same number of people that approach me.
Right. I think it's just for one, kind of shocking to see you guys in the area. First of all, get over that, and then by the time they get over it, you're gone.
Yeah. No, I mean for sure. We did meet this really nice father and son who had come all the way over from England just to go to the Mothman Festival. While we were out at the TNT area, like Richard just, I think maybe they asked him where something was, and then they started talking a little bit, and then eventually I realized he wasn't behind us as we were walking, so I went back to see what happened to him, see if maybe he'd been carried off by the Mothman or something. And I found him talking to these guys, and the son was really into the Mothman mystery. And so his dad, who seemed like a really great dad, came with him from England so he could come to this festival specifically. And we got to talking to them, and then they kind of realized, like what we did, like who we were and everything. And like the next thing that happens is like the dad decides he's just going to film the whole thing. And okay. It was pretty cute, honestly. Because the phone comes out and then it's just recording everything, like walking around to record, like literally like circling us, recording this whole conversation as we have it. And I'm sure like that's going to be a really cool memory. I'm just not used to people's reaction to speaking with me being to like immediately record, It's like, dude, what am I, a cop? You don't have to record this. I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever experienced that before. That's a new one.
Yeah, it was. It was. He was recording it in a good way, not in a you're going to get canceled later way. So, it was just really sweet. I was like, this is such a positive interaction. I love this, and they were just the nicest guys, and I just thought that was so cool. The relationship they had, father and son, to come all the way from England together. And then we actually ran into the dad again on Saturday, because we would have run into them in the TNT area on Friday. And yeah, he's, again, super nice guy. They were having a great time. He said, this is the only part I felt bad about, but it's not our fault. His son was waiting in line to get into the museum. And I was just like, oh man, that is going to be a wait, because that line was beastly on Saturday.
Yeah, it's I don't know why anybody does it. Just to be honest with you, I wouldn't. But then again, there are people that travel from very far away to come to this festival. So, I guess if that's what you're there for, that's why you would do it. That's very neat. Did you ask him about their owl man?
I didn't get there. We did talk about their specifically the son's interest in Mothman, and he knew his stuff. Let me tell you, people should be interviewing that guy about Mothman, because he was very familiar, like deep cuts, like talking about specific details given by different witnesses back in the 60s kind of stuff. So that was really cool. Like it was neat to run into somebody who was so interested in the research, because so many people show up because they're interested in the pop culture, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's fine, have fun, but I, of course, being who I am, I get excited when I meet people who are like deep into the lore and the research, and this guy definitely was. So that was very cool.
That's awesome. I love that. I wish me and my kid had that kind of relationship.
I know, right? Like, how cool is that?
We don't. She just thinks I'm a fucking loser.
Well, I mean, most kids do until they grow out of it, right?
Yeah, it sucks. No, it's not that bad. Actually, I was like, do you want to go to the Mothman Festival? She was like, no. She wants to go. Eventually, she knows it's crazy there. So she's not. She gets overstimulated. I think it would be I don't bring her because it's way too much. It's too much for me sometimes. I just can't imagine. Actually, I was going to bring my sister, and my sister's deaf, and which is fine. That she's deaf, no problem there. But then I have to interpret everything, and I'm just like, I don't want to fucking do that.
You don't have to be like the interpreter all day.
I don't want to be the interpreter all day, because she wants to go to the museum and the statue, and I'm like, we can fucking go do that literally anytime, and you don't have to fight the crowds to do it. Like, we'll go whenever.
Right. Well, I mean, how much of that requires interpretation? Couldn't you just...
like the museum and stuff? Yeah, not a lot of it. I mean, it's funner to go with me one-on-one than it is to go with me at the festival. That's for sure. I'm chock full of more information that way. Whereas, like, if somebody approaches me at the festival, then I have to interpret basically the entire conversation, the other person and mine. So it's like, yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
My hands would be so sore and cramping. It doesn't work that way, but
I don't know why we don't. I'm not. This is going to be a huge digression, but I don't know why we don't teach American Sign Language to kids in school.
Oh God, don't get me started on it. I know, right?
I wish I knew it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's it's a good thing to have, right, in your back pocket. You could like have a conversation. Like, if Tobias, you were on the one end of the Mothman Festival, I was on the other, we could talk to each other and it not be an issue.
We could tell each other quiet secrets in public, and nobody would know.
Right? Nobody would have any idea. It comes in, well, except if they taught everybody, then everybody would know. But
we could be leading a strike force in the middle of the night, raiding some location, and communicate silently with each other.
Hand signals.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, I'm already there, bud. You got to catch up.
No, it's true. It's one of those things that, and like Spanish specifically, because we live in the U.S., where I'm like, I really got to get better at these two languages.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Spanish is one. My daughter, they had a new Spanish kid in class, and she took it upon herself to befriend them, which I was unprompted by me. She's just a good kid. She uses Google Translate to talk to her and their friends. I think that's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah. Sure. Why
You know,
not?
nowadays you have like a device in your pocket. You can pretty much talk to anybody. It's really insane.
Yeah.
How
No,
that works.
literally, you can. There are apps that will listen to both sides of a conversation and translate it in real
Yeah,
time.
yeah. It's fucking what a time to be alive. It's crazy,
We live in an
but
age of miracles.
you
I love
know,
it.
yeah, sign language. It's something. I'll tell you. It's very interesting. And to me, it's just I grew up with it. It's life. It's part of my
Right.
life.
Well, it's easier to learn those things young, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And so I wish that I
Oh yeah.
would have, but it also wasn't up to me because I was just a little kid.
Well, and that was kind of the perspective of it was that, me and my sister were a year and a half apart. I'm the older one. So, I literally grew up with sign language. And so because it was easier for me to learn as a young kid, then that means that the family kind of was very lazy about it and relied on me a lot to interpret going forward. So you just get better at it. And you know what's crazy is that even though I grew up with it, man, I'm still not as good as those deaf people are. Their hands are flying. And I'm like, slow down.
Right. Well, I mean, why would you be? You don't have to use it daily, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. You're talking so fast.
Yeah, right.
And I gotta slow them down, and then I'll get nervous. When it's my sister, it's not so bad. I'm comfortable with her, but when it's another deaf person, I will get. I guess like people will stutter when they're nervous.
Sure.
Um, I do that, but in deaf
Huh.
with my hands.
Well, I could see that.
It's really interesting. Anyway, that has nothing to do with,
Sure.
with this, but
I do.
this
I
was
told you it
fun.
was going to be a huge digression as
You
soon as
know,
I said
this
it.
this was just supposed to be, we're tired, you guys. I'm sorry we didn't want to research a topic this week and didn't think we had to because we went to the Mothman Festival and that's what everybody's talking about right now. So, just kind of a lazy topic this week, but that's fine. We're going to come back next week with a fun topic. This was a fun topic too, but
I think it
a, re-
was like, talking
a
about the
research.
Mothman Festival and sort of our experience and what we got up to. And yeah, I
It was
don't,
a whole episode about our weekend.
yeah, nobody should be disappointed in this. How dare they? This was
Right,
a
they learned a
great
lot.
episode.
You learned that you can stutter with your hands too. I mean, come on.
Yeah, nobody else out there is giving you that information. You're welcome.
You learned that Tobias is approachable.
That's right. Come say hi. I'll give you a hug, whether you
Oh my
want it or not.
Now you're starting to sound like me.
I know.
I just do it anymore. And I'm like, you know what? On the flip side of 2024, it's 2024. I should be asking people before I
You
start trying to
should.
hug them.
I would
I
never, ever initiate physical contact with anybody without
I just
express consent.
I I must be part gray or something. I just start going in for it. And by that point, what are they going to do? They're like, no, don't. They don't. Nobody's going to do that to me.
No, you've spent a lot of time around some real questionable mantis cucks, and they're rubbing off on you.
Oh, they're rubbing off, all right.
Oh boy.
I just start going in for it. And I'm like, I'm a hugger. And I just warned them,
Right?
but don't ask for permission. Nobody's ever said no yet. But again, I haven't asked. I got to
It's
work on
true.
that. I'm a predatory hugger.
Oh boy.
Anyway, any closing thoughts on the Mothman Festival, West Virginia, Point Pleasant, whatever it is you got for us?
Oh boy. Yes. If you're gonna go, you got to make sure to bring sunscreen and bug spray. If you can get 2 in 1, maybe if you want to trust it. I personally would bring a can of each.
That's good advice. And water, of course. You could buy water, but it's expensive. So just bring your
Well,
own.
they saw the local band was selling it, like the school band. So
Oh,
support
really?
them kids. Yeah.
Nice.
Like it's tough as hell to get any extracurricular activity outside of sports funded. So
Very
if you
true.
see an opportunity to, and I love sports, just like anybody, But the reality is they can't be the only extracurricular activities offered. So if you see an opportunity to support any others, do that.
Every time. Yeah, always support the kids. Support the arts.
Yes.
There's not enough of that. So, Anyway. Well, with that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.